lot of people nowadays don't like black and white movies. Unless they came from that time period, or like me grew up on the reruns, they wouldn't take the time to look into it or even think that they're interested in it, which I feel is a shame, because once you get past the lack of color and focus on the story, you'll find yourself deeply involved in the characters and the richness of the story that they present, and it didn't matter if it was in color or not. Now, the movie Some Like It Hot was made in 1959, which for that year, a lot of movies came out in Technicolor. However, this particular movie decided to come out in black and white, which I feel was a pretty good decision, because actually it didn't make you focus on the colors and the wildness of the new technology. It made you really focus on the story. Now, this movie, it pushed the boundaries, and it actually caused the Hays Code. I'll go into that later, but for right now, it was an amazing film that broke boundaries and pushed back where everyone's expectations and comfort level was at that time, because not only was it rich in comedy, romance, and some action, it also had nudity, blood, guns, which were not really allowed, and suggested dialogue and some unsuggested dialogue. It was very greatly produced and written and directed by Billy Wilder, who, with the help of I.A.L. Diamond, wrote it. The movie stars an amazing cast, and some of them you'll know no matter how old you are because they're iconic, such as Marilyn Monroe, who in this movie won a Golden Globe for Best Actress, which was really amazing. The rest of the cast consists of Tony Curtis, who's the father of Jamie Lee Curtis, and Kelly Curtis, Jack Lemmon, who is more notably known in recent years for playing in Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men, George Raft, Joey Brown, and Pat O'Brien. The music was composed by Adolphe Deschutes, which I apologize if I butchered the last name, but he was most known for writing music for Oklahoma, Showboat, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and a whole lot of other mostly musical numbers. The movie was released in March 29, 1959, at a running time of 121 minutes, which is basically 2.5 hours, so it was a pretty long movie, especially for back then. It had a budget of $2.9 million, which in today's standards is a lot of money, which I will put at the bottom of the screen because I cannot even read those numbers, but it was over an annual inflation of 3.76% over time, and then it made $40 million, which I can't even describe that number, so I will leave that on the screen as well, and with the same inflation rate of the 3.76%. It was critically acclaimed and voted top comedy film by the American Film Institute on the list of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Laughs poll in 2000. It has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, an average score of 8.9 out of 10, so that means this was an incredible movie. It helped tear down those standards that they had back then. It was a system that was worse than what we think of today of ratings. We think our rating style is bad. You should hear what was illegal to do, or what your movie wouldn't even make it past the cutting room floor if it didn't meet these certain requirements. And here's just a couple. Illegal traffic of guns, sexual relationships between a white and black person, saying God, Lord, Jesus, Christ, hell, damn, God, like G-A-W-D, and every other kind of profanity expressed in any kind of way or any kind of spelling. Childbirth, no matter if it was from front or a silhouette. White slavery, which I find interesting, and many more. And if you want the full list, you can look up Motion Picture Production Code, which is also the Hays Code. And some say that this movie put the final nail in the Hays Code's coffin because it destroyed everything, especially with the nudity in this movie, which to our standards actually probably wouldn't be that risque, but back then that was risque. Now you might be thinking, holy shit, Batman, what kind of movie was this? Well, I'll tell you. takes place in 1920 Chicago in February. Gangsters ran the streets, unemployment was high as well as crime rates. It was illegal to drink because it was the prohibition, and that caused a lot of people to hide from the law to get their alcohol fix. And in turn, a lot of gambling was involved, so a lot of speakeasies. It was a hard time, and so the focus was on two musicians who were trying to get some form of honest work in a time where not too many people did so. Joe, who was played by Tony Curtis, is a ladies' man who's a jazz saxophone player who has trouble with gambling, and he's horrible with women. Like, not that he can't get a girl, like he treats them bad and gets stuff out of them, which is disgusting. The other guy is Jerry, who's played by Jack Lemmon. He's a very nice guy. He plays the jazz double bass, and he actually tries to talk Joe out many of his schemes and ends up kind of being pulled along, even though he really doesn't like any of them. Now, after convincing one of Joe's lady friends to help them out because they have a new gig where they can make money and they don't have a car, they go and borrow her car. However, it was at a mechanic shop, so they had to go and pick it up. While there, it wasn't their lucky day, as mob came to kill a lot of the people that were in the mechanic shop because they were fellow mob members, one of which ratted them out recently at one of the clubs that they were selling alcohol at, so they came to kill him. One was Spots Colombo, who was played by George Raft. However, after they killed these men, which is actually a setup for St. Valentine's Day Massacre that they're working off here, they notice Joe and Jerry, unfortunately. However, they're able to escape, but now they're in trouble. They're in Chicago in a time where gangsters are all over the place. The police really can't help you, and they can't keep you safe because half of them either are afraid of the gangs or the other half are getting paid off. So, luckily they remembered that while they were at the office getting the gig that they were about to go to, there was an opening gig. It was great. They were going to go to Florida for 3 months, all paid expense, and you got paid for it. There was just one catch. It was an all-girls band, and they're guys, so how can they get in there? Well, Joe gets the idea of borrowing some clothes from some girls that he obviously scammed out of, and decides that they should do it. Now, as you can expect, chaos and shenanigans ensue, and one of them is both of them kind of fall in love with this singer / ukulele player who is called Sugar Cane. Last name's not her real last name, but when you hear her original last name, it's hilarious, so I see why she changed it. But Sugar Cane is played by Marilyn Monroe, and as expected, the two find it hard to remember they're both supposed to be girls. However, the two grow close to the 25-year-old blonde. Now here it gets interesting. Joe, who's now named Josephine, decides to pretend to be a millionaire who is the son of the heir of the Shell Oil Company. You know, the gas station. Now the scene of him telling her this is just hilarious. Like, I'm going to show you a clip.
It's on account of these shells. That's my hobby.
Collection?
Yes, so did my father and my grandfather. You might say we had a passion for shells. That's why we named the oil company after it.
Shell oil?
Please, no names.
Okay, so meanwhile, Daphne, who is Jerry, because he always liked the name Daphne, finds himself catching the eye of an actual millionaire who is in his 60s, has been married many times, and his mom's pissed off at him for not getting married. His name is Osgood Fielding III, played by Joey Brown, which, not knowing he's a guy, tries to woo Daphne, and at first, Daphne rebuts him, doesn't want anything to do with him, gets pissed off, pushes him away. But the other side, Joseph, tries to woo Sugar with using his Shell Oil personality, and in dirty fashion, convinces her that he doesn't know what love is, and the only way to get him to love again is for her to keep kissing him lustfully, which that's a dirty blow if you ask me. Meanwhile, Daphne, Jerry, starts to kind of fall in love with the billionaire. Kind of, not really, but it's hilarious, and I can't even give the ending away because if I talk anymore about it, I will ruin the whole ending. But you will laugh, you will be in awe, you will be excited, you will be a little bit scared for them. It's just all these emotions inside that you will absolutely love this movie. And it's more than a classic. It should be on everyone's shelf in everyone's library because it just breaks the rules and it pushes the boundaries. And it's just a very well-developed film. You forget that it's 2.5 hours. You're just so immersed in it. So tell me what you think about this movie. Leave it in the comments. Let me know if you've seen it, or if now you've heard about it, you want to go see it. Just let me know. Or if you have seen it, tell me about the impact it's had on your life in any way. So, until next time, watch on.